Folks, Torah portion Achrei. We're at the fifth reading.
Are you going to pull it up there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
We are indeed. There you go. Okay. Fifth reading, Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 17, verse 8. So this is continuing from yesterday, if you recall, of bringing sacrifices not in a proper place, sacrifices, blood, or the slaughtering of the sacrifice, if you recall. That's what we discussed yesterday, right? And we gotta, okay, let's go right into it. Verse number 8. And to them you should say, Ish, man, meaning any man, Beis Israel, from the house of Israel. Right? Meaning, we're not speaking about the Kohen now, right? We're speaking about every Jew that's bringing an offering, right? Or a stranger that dwells amongst you, meaning a convert, that will bring up an oila, meaning a burnt offering, that it ascends, zabach, or any other type of sacrifice, right? Asher yalo ela, Rashi, in 8, L'chayev ala matir vayim b'chutz. So this is saying that is bringing an offering, right, of an oila. So this means that someone who burns the limbs that outside of the grounds of the base of Migdash will be liable for punishment. It's like someone who slaughters. Yesterday we learned about someone slaughtering or bringing the blood outside of the courtyard, right? You took it out. You took it outside of the grounds of the base of Migdash. Now we're speaking about that. What happens if you brought the limbs or the organs of the oil offering? So it's considered like you slaughtered outside. Similar idea. If one person slaughtered, and another person brought up limbs and organs, they're both liable, right? They're both liable. Okay. Verse number 9. And if to the entrance of the oil moed of the tent of meeting, you did not bring this offering, right? To do it for Hashem, nichras ishahu mi'ama. That person who didn't bring it to the tent of meeting will be cut off from his people. Rashi nichras zara nichras yamav nichrasim. So Rashi says the person is cut off from his people. What does it mean? Like nichra? No, actually, it's on the word nichras. Interesting. Because Rashi is saying over from. Oh, okay. So it's bringing from the people. In other words, peoples is plural. So he's cut off of his people, the person from his people. So that means it's not just him, because peoples is plural. So that means his offspring too.
Okay, that's pretty hard.
Yes. Yes.
It says Zara descendants, no? Zara's descendants.
Yeah, the verse doesn't say it, but Rashi says it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but how does Rashi know that? It doesn't say in the verse, right? So where's Rashi getting it from? People. Since the word peoples is plural, right? doesn't have to. What do you mean that he's cut off from his peoples? It means that there's more than just him being cut off. That's the implication, right? Because it doesn't need to say that he's cut off from his people, not peoples, right? So it says that, it means there's some others that are being cut off.
Yeah.
Means so who else would it be? That concept we already have is that the sin of the fathers is met on the children, right? Okay, verse number 10. The Ishish, continuing, and man, meaning any man, Base Israel, from the house of Israel, Omina Ger, Hagar, or from the Ger, the stranger, Hagar that dwells. It's interesting, the word Ger, stranger, means also to dwell, right? To sojourn. Because the word sojourn over here means more in a temporary manner, right? Also, like someone who became means they're not temporary in their becoming, but it's,
they weren't always there.
They weren't always there, right? The Seicham amongst them, Asher Yechal, that he will eat kol dam, any blood. Excuse me. Every season has its malady. The cold weather people run away from. For me, spring means I spring out with allergies. Excuse me. This is my medication right here. If I focus hard enough on this, I'll forget about the other.
Exactly.
Will eat any blood. And I will put my face, meaning my attention, right? Benefesh, in the soul. Said eats. It's Adam eating this blood. And I will cut off it, meaning this soul, this person, from the midst of the people, right? And here it's Amma, not plural, right? It's right. Kol dam, any blood. Rashi, Lefisha Nema benefesh yichaper. Since it says atone for a soul, yochol, one might think lo yechai, that you would not be liable ela adama mukudoshim, except for consuming blood of animals that were consecrated as offerings, and you had their blood. Talmud Laimar, for the verse says kol dam, any blood. Either it's steak that you have for dinner. If the blood was not taken out from it, that's the same law, right? The same law. And Nasati panai, and I shall direct my face. Panai shalim, meaning my attention. Rashi says, I will remove myself from all my concerns and deal with this individual. 11. He nefesh habasar. Now, so continuing, why such a severe, attention given to this? And others, it's not just you getting cut off. God is saying, I'm going to give all my attention here, right?
Yeah.
So it's more than if you slaughtered the animal in the wrong place, right, or sprinkled the blood and so on. Or you put the limbs on the wrong, not on the altar. Okay, so he nefesh habasar badam, because the soul of the flesh is in the blood. He v'ani lachem. Well, blood is right. Blood is what gives vitality. Gives right. Gives life. V'ani nasati lachem, and I have given it to you ala mizbeach, to put it on the altar. This blood. In order to bring atonement for your souls. Because the blood is in the soul brings atonement. Rashi, ki nefesh habasar, right? The first words of the verse, right? Shall call bria of every creature, bedam hutluya, it's dependent on blood. Every creature, any living creature, right? Any living creature. Lefikach, nesativ, therefore I have assigned, I've decreed that it should be placed al mizbeach, on the altar, lechaper al nefesh adam, to atone for a man's soul. Tovei nefesh, let the soul of the animal come, sechaper al nefesh, and atone for the soul of man.
So when it's placed.
So this verse, it's interesting. So Rashi's, because it's not very clear what these words are coming to say. Rashi's saying that the soul of any living creature, that's important over here, right? Not just a human being, any living creature, including animal, right, is in the blood, right? Its vitality is in the blood. Therefore, I've given to you that animal, right? Where should its blood go? On the altar. It should go on the altar in order to be your stead.
Yeah.
That it brings you atonement. And it doesn't belong anywhere else.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong you eating it, in other words.
It's sacred.
Okay. 12. Okay. Therefore, Amarti, I have said, Livnei Israel, to the children of Israel, Kol nefesh mikem, all souls of you, from you, Leisei chaldam, do not eat blood. And also, the stranger who sojourns amongst you should not eat blood. Kol nefesh mikem, lahazer gedei l'matan. So this is obviously repetitive. We just said that, right? So this is to warn the adults over children. Also, they should not eat meat that has not been the blood taken out. Okay, that's the whole process of salting we do as a result, right? Malicha. Okay. Ish, verse 13, man, meaning every man, Mibnei Israel, from the children of Israel, Minager Agar V'Seicham, from the stranger who dwells amongst you, Asher Yotzud said, Chaya, who Yotzud, he traps a trapping wild animal, a trapped wild animal, or a bird, that may be eaten, and you shed its blood, when you shed its blood, you should cover the blood with afar, dust. This is a mitzvah. If you by kapara, if you ever did kapara Erev Yom Kippur with a sheichat, he slaughters. So you get, it's the only time of the year that I get that mitzvah. I take there's some sawdust there, and you cover it, because it's what the verse said over here. For a wild animal, meaning for a cow, you don't do this, right? You do it for an undomesticated animal that is slaughtered, like I guess a giraffe. We don't know how to slaughter a giraffe because we don't know where the proper place is, but that would be an example. Or or a bird that we cover it. This is what the verse is coming to say over here. Okay, so what does it mean to over here that trapping? Because trapping can be a problem. What would be a problem with trapping?
It's not a halacha.
Not talking about.
Oh,
trappers.
okay. Well, I mean, like
because the animal might become treif.
Yeah, in the process.
Right, because in the process, right. So Rashi, let's see. Asher Yatzud will be trapped. Ainli ela latzad. I only know the commandment to cover blood that applies to one who traps an animal. Avzin. Tarnagelim minayim. But where do I know that this applies to domestic animals that are considered already trapped, as geese and chickens. Talmud Loimar Tzaid, a catch, which implies mikol makom in any circumstance. In other words, it's as if it's caught, meaning it doesn't need catching.
Mhm.
A geese doesn't need catching,
Yeah.
right? And if so, then Laman Emor was it says Shayotzud, who will trap. Shayechabasar, and this comes to teach you, you should not eat meat ella bahzmana zayis unless it is with this preparation. I know there's the verses when it says when a person will trap. We're not talking about trapping over here. That's not a Jewish thing to do, right? Because if you trap, you might make a treif.
Yeah.
So what does it mean a trap over here? It means don't eat meat regularly. Eat just like trapping means you've got to prepare it,
Mhm.
right? You got to prepare it.
Yeah.
So likewise over here, it means here eat with preparation. Although it's not just by out of hand, so to speak. In other words, you got to be mindful about it.
Yeah.
And you've got to, it's not something that just is there for the taking. Just like trapping is not there for the taking,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
You got to trap it.
Yeah.
As opposed to the domesticated fowl, right? There for the taking,
Mhm.
right? It's a bit strange, this.
So, but a wild animal that is caught, or not even if it's caught, just if it's prepared, so like if it's given this process that you're describing, when it's shechted, then the sawdust is placed over the blood.
Right, that's what we're talking
That's
about,
what we're talking
exactly.
about. Yeah,
The sawdust is the place of the blood,
But you
exactly.
don't have to do that for just completely domesticated animals.
Right, for a cow, you don't do that.
You don't eat it every day.
Huh?
So you don't eat it every day.
Right, that was from the words that you trap, right? Because what does mean over here? We're not talking about trapping. They're not telling us what to do, how to get the animal, right? And that's not how we get animals. Because again, if you trap it, you might kill it. You might kill it, and if you don't kill it, you might injure it. And if you injure it, then it might become treif.
So it's more an animal that would require trapping rather than like
No,
necessarily.
no, it's coming to teach you a different. Don't eat meat
Mhm.
except in a manner of trap not in the manner of trapping. Just like trapping is an effort, it's not just out of hand.
Yeah.
It's not like going to the
Yeah,
fridge and
yeah,
go
yeah.
get the the almond milk and pour it into the coffee. It's just there, right?
No.
Right? Yeah, you know the difference between a smart kid and a stupid kid, right?
Yeah.
The stupid kid thinks milk comes from the fridge. The smart knows that it comes from the store.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole point over here is that there's an effort involved in
Yeah.
getting milk, right? I gave that now as a joke, right?
Yeah.
But there's an effort to get meat. So don't eat meat so regularly that it's without effort.
Okay.
That's what the
Yeah.
verse is coming.
Okay.
It's coming to teach you a moral value
Yeah.
rather than a halacha.
Yeah.
Rather than a halacha, right? The halacha is coming to teach us is that you have to, both for fowl and wild animal, you have to, when you slaughter it, you have to cover its blood with dust, sawdust in our instances of how it's usually, right? Okay, is that
No, that's clear. Yeah.
that's the point. So
Yeah,
it's
I
a
get
very
that.
it's a very kind of like
Interesting.
out of the box thing that it's teaching us over
Yeah.
here. That's the
No, but Rabbi, in today's world where you're almost guaranteed that the meat you get is kosher. How does this apply?
so don't eat meat every day.
Maybe for health purposes.
No, we don't add what has not been said, right? Did Rashi say that? He didn't say that. Did the verse say that? No. Rashi is explaining. No. Could be for health purposes, fine,
Yeah.
but that's not what is being taught, right? We have to be careful that we make sure that we're learning in Chumash and Rashi. We have to make sure that we're learning what Rashi is telling us. He didn't say that. It could be that you're right, but that's not what the simple meaning of the verse is coming to tell us, right? And we have to be a true Rashi students, right? I'm actually, I think it's personally, if you want to be true to the verse, it said very clearly. It said very clearly. What did it say? And we yesterday's sikha that we learned, it said very clearly, right? Blood is the life force. So the life force of an animal, you don't want the life force of the animal, and the life force of the animal, whether it be the blood that you've taken away or just the animal itself, that you should become that animal. You are what you eat. So it's more about spiritual health than it would be physical health if you want to be true to what we've learned. Right? That in consonance with what we've learned. Right? And that Rashi didn't say. That would be Pnimius Atayr, that would be the Rebbe, how he would perhaps learn out something from here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That may be eaten. Prat l'tmeim, this excludes unclean creatures which are prohibited to be eaten, that the blood does not require covering. Okay, verse 14. We're good, folks?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get moving. Okay, okay, let's see how he continues. For the soul of the flesh is in its blood. Benafshehu. Damai benafshehu. Its blood is in its soul. The Amar Leban Israel, and say to the children of Israel, Dam kol basar, the blood of all flesh, lo yiseichelu, do not eat, ki nefesh kol basar damai, because the soul of all flesh is in its blood. He cholav yikaris, and anybody who will eat it, I will cut off. Wow, sounds very redundant. Let's see Rashi. Dama benafshehu, the blood represents its life. Dama hulai, its blood serves it. B'malkam nefesh, in the role of its life. Shat nefesh t'liyaboy, because its life is dependent on blood. Kinefesh. Okay, I don't know what this added. For the life of any flesh is its blood. For the life is the blood. And blood and flesh are masculine terms, and nefesh, lashon nekeva, while life is a feminine term. Okay. Still a little bewildered what this verse is coming to teach us that we didn't know already.
Yeah.
15. Okay, so we finished with that. Any soul, meaning any person, that will eat nevela, a dead animal, utreifa, or a treifa means torn, meaning torn in that it's not healthy. Be'ezrach, with a native, or a stranger, v'chibas begodav, he has to wash his clothes, v'rachas b'mayim, and go and cleanse in water. Wash in water, meaning going to the mikveh. V'tamei ada are v'tayr, and he's impure until the evening. V'tayr, and then he becomes clean. Okay, Rashi in 15. Someone who eats, right, an animal that died or was mauled. This verse is speaking an unslaughtered carcass of a kosher bird, shein latuma, which has transmitted no impurity, ella bishah, other than the time shenivlas, that it becomes swallowed, the base of liya, in the throat. Because the meat of an animal carcass, does not transmit impurity to one who eats it while it's in his mouth. It transmits impurity only when it's in its throat. In other words, when you swallow it. So too, if one immerses himself in the mikveh after having swallowed the meat of a carcass, he becomes purified, even if there's a chunk of the meat of the carcass still in his stomach, because it's only in the throat. Because it says here, eating. Eating means swallowing. Meaning teichal, that you will eat, meaning it's the act of eating. The act of eating, meaning that you chewed it and swallowed it.
Yeah.
So that's when it makes you impurify, not because it's in your stomach. I'm not clear why Rashi says it's about an unslaughtered carcass of a kosher bird, and not. I wasn't clear.
I was gonna say treifa is different.
No, that I understand. Treif is different. No, but why bird? Why not just? Why not also any animal that's to be slaughtered, right? Oh, okay. Let's see further. Okay, so Torah comes to teach you that it transmits impurity. It's eating, but does not transmit impurity through touching it, which an animal does. An animal carcass, if you touch it, you become impure, right? Okay, that's why it's speaking here about a fowl, because a fowl, if it does not transmit impurity when you touch it. Utreifa murakan, and the mauled animal that it's speaking about over here, lo nichtav ela lidresh, is only written to be expounded. We'll hold debate over here in the Gemara on this word. Mechan shanino, and here we learn Yocho, that I might think that an unslaughtered carcass of a bird of a non-kosher species should be transmitting impurity, but basically when you swallow it, Talmud Leimar, versus otherwise treifa, that it's mauled, mishiesh b'minai, that's speaking about a species that has a halachic classification of treifa of a mauled animal, yatza'iv tameh, which excludes a non-kosher bird, shein b'mino treifa, because the species has no halachic classification of a mauled animal, right? Because mauled animal means it's inherently kosher, but it got mauled, meaning therefore it has a sign of unhealthiness in it. It's not dead, right?
Yeah.
Right, but it has some unhealthiness in it that it will not last 24 months, and therefore, or 12 months, sorry, 12 months, right? I'm sorry, 12 months, and therefore it's deemed unkosher now. 16. And if the person does not immerse his garments or immerse himself, he bears his sin. Rashi, he bears his sin. What is that? Speaking about over here, if he will now eat something holy, or Yikanas Migdash, or he enters into the base of Migdash, Chaya Balatuma, he is liable to get kares for this impurity. Kichol Shar Tuma is like all the other impurities. He will bear his iniquity. He doesn't say whether he's going to get it cut off. He gets cut off with kares, right? Only because, not because of the eating of it, but because now he's impure and he did not purify himself going to the mikvah, right? And his clothing get purified, and he went to the holy temple now and brought an offering, for example.
Yeah.
He does not immerse his flesh, he shall bear his iniquity. On immersing his body, on nishkaris, he's punished with karis. I'll keep his begodim, and for not washing his garments, he gets malchus. That's interesting. Aha, because it says I don't know how Rashi gets that exactly, because it seems to come together in the verse. But lo yirchatz, that he didn't immerse himself, that's when he bears his iniquity of excision. But if But the garment, let's say you didn't take your garments and get them
Yeah.
cleansed,
Then only lashes.
then only lashes. You don't get early death. That has it. Okay. Sorry, I don't get how from the verse you can make that distinction because they're coming together. I don't think it's called a loophole. Okay.
You cut off, there's ways of not being cut off, doing something, an act that you can.
Okay, let's just move on because we don't have time. Sorry. My apologies. Okay. Chapter 18, verse number 1. Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Davar b'nei Yisrael, speak to the children. Ritzim marta lehem ani Hashem elokechem. I am Hashem your God. Now we're going to speak about this. We read on Yom Kippur in the afternoon about laws of morality. Okay, let's go. So, I am Hashem your God. That's very nice. Don't we know that already? Ani Hashem elokechem. I am Hashem your God. Ani hu. I am the one, Shemar to be Sinai, that said at Sinai, Anei Hashem Alekecha, I am the Lord your God. Obikavaltim Aleichem, and you accepted upon yourselves Malchusim, my sovereignty. Miata, now that you've accepted my sovereignty, Kibla Gezureisai, now you have to accept my decrees, right? In other words, you accept the king as the king. Now, whatever the king decrees, you got to accept that. That's what it's. Rebbe says, that it's known and revealed before God. In the future, the Jewish people are going to rebel when it comes to sexual immorality. In the days of Ezra, therefore he confronts them with the decree that begins with Anishem and the Lord your God. As if to say, no, that I am the one who decrees upon you, and I'm the one who will exact punishment. And I will also be faithful to pay reward for those who follow my dictates. As the deeds or the practice of those in the land of Egypt, you have dwelled amongst them, do not do. And as the actions of those who dwell in the land of Canaan, that I am bringing you to, Shama, there, don't do that. In their statutes, do not go. In other words, in their ways, the ways of non-Jews you shouldn't follow. Rashi, like the practice of the land, those in the land of Egypt. Magi, this comes to tell us that the practice of the Egyptians, and of the Canaanites. Why are they being pointed out? Because they're the most degenerate of all nations. But Malcolm in that place, Israel, that the Israelites dwelled, is most degenerate of all places. The Egyptians in Goshen were the most degenerate of all the Egyptians. That's where the Jews dwelled, in Goshen, right? And to that place where I'm bringing you, Magi, this has come to tell us that those nations, Israel, that the Israelites conquered, are the most degenerate among all of them. Okay. Now, what does this mean? Don't follow their statutes. It's now adding something. What did the verse leave over that it needs to express? That it did not say already. These are their traditions. They're kind of, this is.
Minhags?
Yeah, the minhags, you got to put the fork on this place over here and the knife over there, right? Those are the traditions, right? These are matters that are etched in their ways. Keep going. Now he's going to give the example of it. Like theaters, stadios, and stadiums, right? So, meaning attending these places, Rabbi Meir says, these are the ways the Amorites, Shemanu Chachamim, which the sages have enumerated. Verse 4. And my ordinances you shall do, and my statutes you shall observe, to walk in their way. I am Hashem your God. Rashi 4. carry out my judgments, my ordinances. These are the matters that are stated in Torah, the mishpat, in judgment, laws which accord with human reason. If they were not stated, it'd be worthy that they should be stated by man, right? There's laws of business, laws of theft, and so on. That's what I teach my statutes you shall observe, decrees. These are matters that are a decree of the king. That concerning them, the evil inclination reacts by asking, why do we have to observe it? Now, it's not making sense. And not only that, but non-Jewish nations, they also react concerning them. Going, for example, they say, in reference to achilas b'chazer, eating pork, people think pork is for health reasons, trigonosis. No, Rashi says over here, this is before they knew anything about trigonosis, right? When Rashi wrote this, he's saying that no, it's a statutory law. It's not now that we have refrigeration, we don't have to worry about trigonosis, and therefore this doesn't apply. Rashi says to begin with, eating pork doesn't make sense. Actually, the Talmud does. Talmud says that that the pig has the closest innards to a human being, which is true. That's why they use from pig for implants, right? For implants. No, just for even for if you have to change some valve, they'll take it from the pig, right? For a transplant of things, right? Because it's the closest to the human and therefore be least rejected. So the Gemara says, so that it should be edible then. Logically, we should be. So it's a statute. It's beyond logic.
Yeah.
It's not a logical thing. Levisha shatnez, likewise, wearing shatnez, woolen linen. There's also purification of the water of the sprinkling of the red heifer. So the verse is, Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. What does that imply? It's my decree upon you, and you cannot be exempt from it, even though it doesn't make sense to you. You have to follow them. Do not take leave from them. You should not say that I've learned the wisdom of Israel, and now I will go and I will learn. I'll go and learn their wisdom. No, Torah, you always have to learn. Last verse. Yeah, we're good?
Yeah.
Verse 5. Ushmartem, and you shall observe as my statute. That's mishpatai and my ordinances. Asher yas oisam, that you shall do them. Ha'adam, the person, the chai bahem, and live by them. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. Rashi 5. Ishmartem es chukaisai, shall observe my decrees. L'rabas shar diktukei parsha. This includes the fine points of this portion. Shalai prata kosev, that the verse did not specify. Right, other decrees, okay. Davar acher, alternative explanation. Litain shmir of asiya lachukim. This is observing and carrying out the decrees. In other words, the negative and the positive, the doing and the non-doing when it comes to decrees. Shmir of asiya lemishpatim. Also observing and carrying out the judgments. The fi shaloi nasan ela asiya lemishpatim, because it only said carrying out by when it came to judgment. Shmir lachukim, and observing when it comes to the decrees. Now, the observe decrees means observe like don't do it.
Yeah.
But then there's sometimes you got to do something.
Yeah.
Right? Like making the mei chatos, right? The red heifer, that's an action.
Yeah.
So in others is bringing the action, not only the non-action. And then when it comes to ordinances, it only spoke about in the terms of doing. But then there's also ordinances and not to. So it brings both. The chai b'em, you shall live them where are you going to live? The world to come. Sheim teimar, that if you will say that it refers to life itself, but in this world, in the end, a person dies. So it means you're going to live by them. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Tanya coming up. Thank you.